Hi, this is HayleyMary, and you're listening to the Mixtape on Radio Fremantle.
Hello and welcome to the Mixtape podcast. I am your host, Mark, and every week we'll take a deep dive into my guests' inspirations and influences by asking them to make up an imaginary 6-track mixtape. There are over 120 archive episodes. The mixtapepodcast.com is your one-stop shop for all of those episodes, my YouTube channel, and it'd be great to catch up with you on social media as well. Don't forget, if you enjoy this episode, to give us a like, a share, or a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I hope you enjoy this week's episode. Hello and welcome to this week's Mixtape show. And this week on the show, it is an absolute pleasure to welcome HayleyMary. How are you, mate?
I'm good, thank you, Mark. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Thanks for making the time and coming on the show. So you are about to embark on the quite contrary tour of Australia, kicking off in Perth at the Milk Bar on the 30th of January at HayleyMary Music or HayleyMary.com for tickets, dates, and all that other good stuff. First of all, Hayley, you sort of support slots on this tour. You invited submissions, I think, was it through social media, Instagram? What was it that sort of made you sort of want to go down that route?
Well, I'm a little bit of a, what's the word? An outcast of the music industry these days. For obvious social reasons, such as wearing the wrong hat and having the wrong opinions, which is fine and expected. But I just thought, why bother going down the kind of usual routes with anything? Because you just figure like a lot of people are probably going to not be interested or, not want to associate when you're in my my little position, my unique position. And so I thought, well, I could just whittle it down to people that actually want to do it by asking them to tell me if they want to do it. And also, I just thought it was cool because it's like it's going to go to people who follow me. So I'm going to engage with some people. And I'm really just about going off the beaten track these days. A lot of the time, if you go through normal industry routes, you end up doing favors for bookers and all that stuff or whatever. And I like, that's cool. And often they have great recommendations, but I'm so out of the loop with literally everything, which is what you'll see when you hear my mixtape, that I just thought, I'll just put it out as a bait and see what bites because I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Yeah. So fortunately for Perth audiences, the Moth Street artists will be supporting you at the Milk Bar, friends of the show, and also, very proud to say, friends of mine as well. You are in for an absolute treat, Hayley, if you've not heard Jasmine sing before. Jasmine is like, for me, from Moth Street artists, she could sing the phone book at me and I would still be mesmerised. Do you know, she's got an amazing voice, amazing presence, and yeah, I told her a few times when I've been drunk how much I love her singing and what it does for me. And yeah, she's a great person, and I'm friends with the band as well, and they're all great people.
I've had really good positive responses from people when they heard that they were doing it. And I was like, obviously I heard of them when they reached out and said, hey, we'd like to support. And then, I heard a little bit on social media and was like, yeah, you're right. She is a great singer. But then, people have been really excited about it. So it sounds like, there is a band with great potential there, which is exciting.
It's going to be a great one. And for you, Hayley, setlist wise, like what can people expect and coming to see the show?
Well, it's nice to be doing this mixtape thing actually, because after voluntarily somewhat decimating my career, I did kind of go a bit like, I'm going to not do music for a while. I've been doing it for so long that like I associated music once your hobby and your love becomes your career, sometimes you can lose a bit of love with it. Like, I know you're not supposed to say that and you sound bitter and jaded, but it's sort of true. Like, it becomes a job and then you become a bit cynical and you don't like, maybe this is also just getting older, but like, it's been a long time since I've heard a song that really excited me or music excited me. Like, even good music, I'm like, meh, like, it doesn't do it for me anymore. And so I kind of just stopped for a while. I was like, I'm kind of ready to maybe move on.
Mhm.
And then I started just like I didn't pick up the guitar or sing or anything. And then I just started, because I didn't really listen to music. I don't listen to that much music. Never really have, to be honest. And then basically I just started like thinking about old songs that I liked as a kid, or like I'd hear something come on the radio and go, I loved this song when I was a kid, and then I found myself playing or like learning it again or whatever. And that started making me remember that I liked singing in the way that I liked it as a kid, which was like, obviously I had moments of that over the years of touring and stuff, but you can forget it a bit, like the love when it becomes a job. So I guess the covers were the thing that inspired me to maybe want to tour again, and the fact that I'm actually starting a law degree this year. So I was like, if I start a law degree, I can see myself never touring again. Because I might just get overwhelmed. So I've got to get one tour in. So that was a long way of saying there will be some covers. There'll be kind of like songs that inspired me, which you might be surprised by. But then also I'll do a couple of Jezebel songs because otherwise people get annoyed, but not many. Various reasons. One being Jezebel songs are not all that straightforward, and not all of them are conducive to a singer-songwriter vibe. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, some songs, same as my own songs, like some songs are better in that sort of more straightforward singer-songwriter vibe than others. Some Jezebel songs are pretty unconventional, and I'm not a virtuoso player. So I'm sticking to a couple of the simple tracks just to keep people, at bay. And then it'll just be the best of my opinion on the best of my solo stuff, which, it's always hard because you might actually be wrong about what your best songs are, but a little bit of what the most successful ones are and a little bit of what I think are the best ones,
Yeah.
I suppose. But I hope to continue doing this as like a regular thing. So I will expand on the set and learn more. And it's just semi-new to me playing on my own.
Yeah. That leads quite nicely into the next question that I had was like, for you, obviously being in the Jezebels, do you find it a big adjustment in the way you work and write songs and perform as a solo artist versus fronting the band?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, it's funny. That whole like singer-songwriter with an acoustic guitar thing could have worked for me and like I have been playing on my own for quite a while, and so I should be a bit better at it. But the truth is, for some reason, I've always resisted it because in actual fact, my voice is quite high and quite thin. I mean, I've started singing some lower songs, but it sounds better with a wall of sound a lot of the time. Like, again, not every song that I sing sounds good just on acoustic. Like, I might have to lower it, or I often find that men sound better acoustic sometimes because they have a lower, it just feels more frequencies. And for years, I've been trying to do solo stuff just acoustic, and I've found it really lacking, possibly to do with my playing, possibly to do with the guitars I was using, but also to do with the timbre of my voice. So now I've gone a bit capitalistic and gone like, well, if it partly because my band all quit on me after my somewhat controversial statements, the session players from my solo stuff, I thought, well, instead of just going, oh, I'm going to be a soloist with an acoustic, maybe I'll just automate them. And so I've kind of got these hybrid sort of, a lot of the set's going to have tracks. And I know that I come from that like rock background where we used to try and be, a bit purist and be like, 0 to no to very few tracks, try and play as much as you can, blah, blah, blah. But then I'm like, at some point, you kind of like, nothing's pure. A microphone is doing something. And like, unless it's just a voice with a beating on a animal skin, like it's all augmented and amplifying you and changing you, and you've got, so much technology already. And instead of feeling like a lack of confidence because I only am playing with an acoustic guitar to be authentic, I thought I'll just try a few backing tracks with some songs and play along with an electric guitar, which I'm really enjoying, but there will be some acoustic tracks as well. Who knows? Maybe I'll just get up there. And then you see people like Billie Eilish, who's one of the hugest artists in the world, on her own with backing tracks. I'm like, hold on a minute. Like, I could just do karaoke versions of some of these songs. So I've kind of started the rock rules, the kind of old school, like that's not real kind of rules, just out of necessity. It's not that I don't love to see a real band with real skills, and there's just a magic to that. But at the same time, I just wouldn't want to do the tour if I had to play everything, you know. It's a matter of not letting perfect get in the way of good. Sorry, not getting, that's right. That's the saying, isn't it? You know, like I could make it perfect, but that's not possible. So good is good enough, you know, if it means having a tour to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And the tour's called the Quite Contrary Tour. Why did you call it that?
Well, it's a name I've always had sort of just sitting up my sleeve and wanting to use because it rhymes. It's HayleyMary quite contrary.
Rolls off the tongue quite well, doesn't it? Yeah.
That little Mary quite contrary buckle bells kind of rhyme. And I am somewhat, there's just a bit of a joke about how I'm a contrarian. I don't actually think I am a contrarian, but I come across as one because I'm quite argumentative and often play the devil's advocate. But I actually just think I don't know. It's not so much that I play the devil's advocate just for the sake of it. I often think that people are overlooking pretty substantial arguments and to the detriment of, you know, society sometimes, and excluding like whole swathes of people that have pretty normal views but aren't allowed to have them and that kind of thing. So it's kind of a tongue in cheek. It just rhymes and it's great. Like people, it's also the name of my new podcast, which I kind of got into after my little self-cancellation moment, which kind of just about like exploring. I just can't help thinking about this stuff, and I know I suppressed it for so long because it's really bad for a music career, but I was like, I just am that person, like, it's genuinely I'm interested in kind of biting into legal and political and cultural issues and debating with people. I kinda get energized by it. A lot of people get tired by it. I totally understand.
Yeah.
But so, yeah, it just sort of suits like, anyone who knows me or grew up with me was just like, "Oh, yeah, HayleyMary, quite contrary, like, I'm so happy this is happening, that makes total sense." So it's a bit of a tip of the hat to my annoying personality, and so I named the podcast that, and then I thought, "Well, I'm not touring any new music, there's no particular reason for this other than just to get back on the horse and prove that it can be done s to myself." So, yeah, I just named it after that.
And with the podcast, I sort of got the impression, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but like I feel like you felt like and we touched on it a couple of times, you mentioned it, like your statements and your online sort of, how can I put I don't know what the right word to call it.
I'm all about free speech, just
Did you feel like you'd been misunderstood or what you'd said had been taken out of context and the podcast was kind of a way of you kind of reestablishing your views and how you see the world?
Oh, yeah, like 100%, yeah, but I also knew that would happen and sort of it was a few things for people who are listening. This probably some of them will turn off when I properly explain what I did. I protested against the misinformation bill and wore a MAGA hat to draw attention to the protest. And yeah, I do think it was misunderstood because a lot of people I don't know. It's hard because there's different algorithms and a lot of people just really have no idea how anyone could, think that Trump was the right candidate or whatever, whereas 76 million people voted for him and a hell of a lot of people like him. So I can't imagine that they're all just idiot bigots. But it was about the misinformation bill, but I also do hold views that you're not really allowed to have in the music industry or haven't been for like I still think like yes, the tables are turning a little bit in mainstream, a touch, but not in the arts. Like it's still like closed doors in terms of political opinions that you're allowed to have. But, yeah, so I felt it was misunderstood, but I knew it would be. Like, I knew exactly what the reactions would be. I knew people would quit and that kind of thing, but there were some people, quite a lot of people, all privately that were like, "I agree with you. Keep going." That kind of thing. And it took me a while to get the gusto back to start going, "Alright." Like, and there were some people that are like, "How could you do this?" And so I was like, I probably should start trying to explain, because as soon as you do actually talk in long form about some of these things, people do actually understand. Like the shock jock MAGA hat was just like, what the hell? The chick from the Jezebels is like the least MAGA person I would have thought. So I think it did deserve a little bit of extrapolation. But also, I am actually quite concerned about like the, I guess, cultural homogeneity that I think has been happening for the last 15, 20 years for various reasons. So I kind of think that more people talking about it is good. And I see myself in a bit of a crossover world. Like there's heaps of people that talk about it. It's not original to talk about this stuff, but it is kind of rare that an indie musician from Australia would be talking about it, who would have been considered a bit of a darling of the left in most people's assumptions. So I think that there's people, I could be exposing people to things like the UK grooming gang scandal that no one had heard of in this country. I don't know how across that you are, but
Well, yeah, being from the UK, I was already like sort of quite across that situation. Yeah, I was aware of that.
yeah. And the political incorrectness of bringing it up, it's like I can't really adhere to that. And also, like, apparently I'm not a feminist for wearing a MAGA hat. It's like, excuse me. There's a hell of a lot worse threats to feminism than a red hat.
100%.
Okay. In the world right now. So, yeah, I guess there's so much. It's like the tip of the freaking iceberg, and you don't wanna, like, I actually hate when musicians go on about politics, but I more hate when they tell people how to vote or to inject something into the body or tell people what to do. I don't like, freedom of expression is kind of my jam, so if people wanna talk about politics, that's fine. Just I think a lot of musicians sound, to me, like absolute idiots when they're talking about it, and I probably sound like an idiot to all of the other musicians, that's fine, but I was like, I just don't hear any musicians or any artists talking about the other side, and there is another side, and it's a genuine other side. So and then you sit there waiting for someone to do it?
Mm.
Like, surely that person would do it, or surely that
Mm.
person would do it, and they don't, and then you just go, "You know what? I've gotta do it."
And it's HayleyMary Quite Contrary is the name of the podcast, and you can find that if you want to hear more on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple Music. Is it all out on all the places you can find it?
Yes, Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube are the 3 spots I've got. I'm really untechy. It's the most lo-fi indie DIY. I don't even have any.
This will be episode 135, I think, and I like sometimes going back to like episode 1 and 2 and 3 and those really early ones and looking at like what I was doing, and it's good because it shows growth. You know what I mean? And it's like it's much better produced now, and all that other good stuff.
You're listening to the Mixtape.
The Mixtape is brought to you in association with Giglist. Giglist is your one-stop shop for all your live events. If you're looking to get out and experience some live music, you can filter by artist, venue, suburb, or date. If you are an artist, it will take you less than a minute to list your gig for free on the website. The Mixtape brought to you in association with Giglist. Gigs in a list. All right, let's quickly rattle through your mixtape track choices, Hayley. So, track one of your mixtape, if you were making up a mixtape, what would be your attention grabber?
I struggled with this. I'm gonna let you choose between 2. Is Je t'aime moi non plus by Serge Gainsbourg, or No One Is Innocent by the Sex Pistols and that great train robber. They're very different songs, but they were both controversial. Yeah, so just I remember when I first heard it, and my dad was on the treadmill, and I was about maybe 9, and he put it on the vinyl, and I went, "What is this?" Because it's not in English, you know. "What is this song about, Dad?" And he said, "You know what it's about." And I was like, "Yeah, I kinda do, like, they're having sex." And he was like, "Yeah, like, it is about that." But the controversy was also that it was like, "I love you, me neither." So it was a bit of, very French, very French.
Yeah.
Apparently the British banned it. I like songs that it's also musically genius, but and that groove is just incredible. And I love a song where you know what it's about without understanding the lyrics. Even though I'm a lyrics person, you get the vibe straight away. Let's stick with Je t'aime one up.
I was going to say Sex Pistols get picked all the time on the show, and Serge Gainsbourg it's never been picked before, so we'll go with that one.
Enough as well, so let's go with Serge Gainsbourg.
Track 2, Hayley, is what's the song you sing in the car or the shower?
Funnily enough, Unchained Melody is like a song. It's the first song I ever learned to sing. It's like my favorite song of all time. So, and I remember I grew up in Byron Bay, and I was at the Byron Public School for a while. And because I was singing in the shower a lot and stuff, my dad used to think that, maybe I should send her to like a creative school. So he sent me to Steiner School, but I got quite bullied there by all the nice hippie kids. And he noticed that I stopped singing in the shower and pulled me out of the school, which I think is quite parenting, actually. But yeah, that just melody, I can't handle that song. It still makes me cry.
Track 3, Hayley, what is your favourite cover version?
So I'm a huge Roy Orbison fan, and I'm a huge Cyndi Lauper fan. Like Roy Orbison is like just too much. Like I kind of wish they were my parents or something. And I think Roy Orbison is possibly the best singer ever. But the only person who's ever done a version of a song better than Roy Orbison, to me, is I Drove All Night, the Cyndi Lauper version. She does those really long notes, and it's just like, what the hell, man? Like, those old school artists that all did covers and were all like singing other people's songs. They really made the singing the art. Like Unchained Melody, that version to me, that
Righteous Brothers
version, it's like that's the one. I know that song is good, but it has to be that version for me. So yeah, I really feel like that cover of I Drove All Night by Cyndi Lauper like illuminates the art of like the singer, which people obviously they get glory singers, but it's just nice to differentiate it from the song and go, wow, that's a delivery.
For sure. In that category, obviously I'm talking about cover versions on an Australian radio show, so Like a Version comes up a lot in that category. And for me, it's often very hit and miss. But when it hits, like it really does hit. One of my all-time favourite Like a Versions is Jezebels, Don't Stop Believing. Honestly, superb. It comes like every time I'm on YouTube regularly, it'll be on the little right-hand side as a suggested because I watch it like so many times. When I first came to Australia and I was getting into Australian music, like, and it was coming from the UK, there were a lot of bands that I haven't made that sort of trip, that I wasn't already aware of, and that was my introduction to the Jezebels and you as a singer was that Like a Version, a phenomenal cover.
That's funny. Because that was before they made it full production. You're in there with the full band and everything. Like, it used to be like just acoustic song, you couldn't do much. And you're in there with the presenters in those days. So we had that electric kit, and it's like a little bit twee or naff or something because it's like, you couldn't do much. But there is something fun and nice about it. And I think, it's all just about song choice, isn't it? You can't do a good cover of a shit song.
Track 4, Hayley, what is a song you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self?
I'm thinking that I actually first heard this song around my like early 20s. So I actually maybe didn't know it when I was 18, which is why I pick it, because I only like old music, as you've observed. So it's really hard for me to think of something for this because most of the things I've heard were when I was in childhood. Well, not heard, sorry. Most of the things I love were in childhood. But Disintegration by The Cure, because it really being a singer who's obsessed with singing, as I've demonstrated, it changed my whole perspective on like the importance of music and soundscape at quite a pivotal time for the band, because obviously I'm like the more poppy singer, like let's just make the song and be succinct. And then I'm there with these really talented musicians that want to bring their musicality in. And we started actually, I think, discovering The Cure, and that whole album helped. Like, I think we just subconsciously started expanding the music a bit for the better. I do still like a succinct pop song, don't get me wrong, I've got their place. But yeah, I feel like that was one of the most, just it's so epic, and yeah, the vocals are poignant. but they're not dominant. And
Yeah.
I think that was cool for me to discover. And maybe I would have liked to have discovered it earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because-
That's quite a common theme for that category for sure. People are like, I wish I'd heard that, you know, blah, blah. Yeah, it is. People say, I wish I was listening to that, you know, blah, blah. Would have put me in a different musical direction or whatever. Track 5
that's
is a love song.
Oh, I'm going to choose the song that this is just, I put this on every list. It's probably my favorite song of all time, apart from Unchained Melody, is Heroes by David Bowie. I'm sorry I'm a cliche. I like all of the classic songs. It's really boring, but in fact, David Bowie, I used to feel terrible about my lack of like diversity and interest in music. And then I once heard a interview with David Bowie talking about how he didn't really have that much of a record collection and he like didn't listen to that much music, and I was like, oh, that's a relief. I thought I was the only one, but Hero killed me, like has always killed me. And I I went to Berlin like a couple of days after he died and like just cried on like the touchdown. It was like far out, you know. It's very real. I love songs that have that happy sad thing, and I also love historical songs with, you know, war intertwined with love. I'm like a big espionage fan, so I feel like it just ticks all the boxes there, and it's complicated and poetic, and you can read it in so many ways. Like, he's one of the best songwriters of all time, obviously, but I played because this was for a lover or a romantic interest. I got married a few years ago, and we did the ceremony, and then we walked out to Heroes, so I feel like I can say it's
Track 6, a deep cut album track B-side that you feel was underappreciated.
Joey by Concrete Blonde, a song about her alcoholic ex-lover who she still worries about. I remember being 4 and hearing about it and being really concerned about this guy. And later on, I met someone who had actually met her and him. And I said, please tell me, is Joey all right, or is he still somewhere passed out on the floor? You know, like, did he survive? And this guy had met all the most famous people in the world. He was a photographer, and I only cared about Joey. You know, he's like, I've met Mick Jagger. I'm like, yeah, but Joey, like, how is he? And he said, look, honey, he's still probably somewhere drunk and passed out on the floor. And I was absolutely devastated. But I think that song really just, it resonated with me as a kid and made me think kids can care about adult songs, and that this divide between the ages and youth that we have now stratified in radio, I don't believe in it at all.
Hayley, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really, really appreciate your time. You can catch Hayley on tour throughout Australia in January and February. It's at HayleyMary Music on the socials for all the ticket links, information, and all that other good stuff. Thanks so much, Hayley, and I can't wait to catch you at the Milk Bar in Perth next Friday, the 30th of January. Cheers, mate.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you so much for listening to the Mixtape podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to go to the top of the page and rate it 5 stars, or give us a like or follow on social media at the Mixtape podcast and radio show. Don't forget, there's over 100 archive episodes just waiting to be discovered, and all you need to do is visit themixtapepodcast.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.